All right, welcome back to Conversate with Akeem the Earl. And I'm here with another very special guest. This guest is extra special because she was my mock trial coach. And now I feel like we're in like a Mr. Miyagi Danielson type thing where it's like the student is now facing the teacher on a regular basis. And we have yet to face off in court, but I don't know, who do you think will win? Is it going to be a moment where the student beats the teacher or the teacher's going to like edge out the student? I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, I taught you well, but I don't know.
You still got the experience, still have to say it. Yeah, but we have Miss Camille Wagner on the show. Like I said, she's my mock trial teacher. And now we see each other basically every week in court, across the hall from each other. And I'm so grateful to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Akeem.
Yep. So the opening question is, if I was not an attorney, I would be a what?
So actually, that's a funny story because I never thought I was going to be an attorney. My
Really?
whole childhood was me playing tennis. I played tennis professionally, and I thought I was going to be a tennis player until I got injured, and then I was like, well, what am I going to do with my life?
Wait, you were that good?
Yeah.
Like professional how? Like from what age?
Well, I've been playing since I was, I don't know, 4 years old, 5 years
Yeah.
old. As soon as I was good enough to hold a racket and run around, I had a tennis racket in my hands. But I played in Miami. I was ranked in Florida. Played tournaments my whole childhood, and
So
then
you was
got injured.
nice. Dang.
I mean, I was pretty good.
Pretty good.
I think.
Now you don't gotta be humble. You was ranked. What was the injury? If you don't mind.
Tendinitis, and everything with my wrist just went to hell.
Man.
So yeah.
Dang. Is that like a normal tennis injury? Like this is something that usually happens?
It is. I actually got it when I was training in Spain, trying to do the whole Nadal move. There's a lot of risk into it, and then it just did not work out for me.
Oh, you try to do a special move? You try to do a little extra?
Yeah, the Spanish in me has to.
Okay. What was that feeling like, giving up that dream because of an injury? Like, what was that process like?
It was hard. A lot. I tried to not quit. I tried to continue. I had to get what's called prolotherapy, which is basically getting injections around your wrist every so often. And the pain, it got too much. So I eventually had to stop. And then that's when I was like, well, what am I going to do in my life?
Yeah.
So I ended up at Syracuse and took communications and political sciences. And that's what I guess kind of led me down the road of becoming an attorney eventually, although never thought I was going to be a criminal defense attorney.
Wow.
Not expected.
Man. So did somebody tell you like, oh, you should go to law school with your degree, or did you see something that made you want to take that path?
Yeah. So when I was in Syracuse, again, with those two majors, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And then I met the DA of Syracuse, and he and I kind of got close. He became kind of another father figure, and he had me intern for the DA's office. And I was like, okay, I can see myself doing some law. And then, my support system, family, friends, etc., they've always said that I love to argue, so might as well be a lawyer. And it worked out.
So now, got you. So now you're a defense attorney. Tell the people a little bit about what you do.
I defend people. No, as a defense attorney, so I opened my own firm, Wagner PLC, when the pandemic hit, actually in May of 2020. And on a regular basis, it's, just getting new clients who are facing criminal charges, whether it's misdemeanors, felonies, etc. And their liberty is literally in my hands at this point. So it's about going to court every single day, being prepared, making arguments on their behalf, trying to get them released, trying to get a not guilty, or, if prosecutors like yourself are willing to just dismiss the case, then my life would be a lot easier.
That happens sometimes. Not most of the time, but sometimes.
Not a lot.
Got you. So do you enjoy being a defense attorney?
I do. I love it. As a defense attorney, coming from a prosecutorial background, you just have to be so posh and neat and everything by the book. As a defense attorney, you have so much wiggle room to really be yourself, make more arguments that, would not fly if you were a prosecutor, because let's be honest, a lot of the times the client, did it. So you had to come up with some crazy
Creative
arguments. Yeah.
And listen, people talk about like there's not a lot of creativity in the law. When I see y'all make y'all argue, I'm like, y'all are the most creative people in the world. Like, how you
We
take
have
that
to.
angle? Yeah, no, for real. No, you're right. You're right. You definitely have to.
We don't
So
have a lot to work with,
no,
unfortunately.
it's
But
true.
yeah.
I hear you. So what? So you talked about being a prosecutor before. You were a prosecutor at my current office before.
Yeah.
How was it being a prosecutor, and then how was it transitioning from a prosecutor to a defense attorney? Because that transition doesn't always happen. It happens, but it's not always the case.
Yeah. So being a prosecutor, I think, was great because you have the support system in the office to really learn, right? So you have a lot of trainings. You can see what prosecutors are thinking, which is super important when you're a defense attorney, because then you don't have that like tunnel vision of only defense. You can actually, think about, well, when I was a prosecutor, I would have done this, and it actually helps in my practice. So I enjoyed being a prosecutor in the sense of the support system that you have, because as a criminal defense attorney on your own, having my own practice, I don't have that support system, right? I don't have supervisors. I don't have people that I can just go to and be like, hey, can you help me with this? I need to find my own answers. So being a prosecutor was great to, I think, build my career and be able to be the litigator that I am today. Transitioning was difficult, mostly, I think, because it was in the middle of a pandemic, but also not having that, support system, those supervisors that are there for you at all times. You have to find your own answers. You have to make your own, contacts with other criminal defense attorneys for that support. So it was a bit of a transition, but I'm very glad that I worked at the office that you are currently at. Because again, I think I can, use what I learned to my advantage as a criminal defense attorney. And it helps when I'm against people like yourself, where I'm look, Akeem, just, text message here instead of emails.
You definitely use it to your advantage, because Camille be texting like, yo, who's up today? Who's doing that? Who's doing that? It helps, but it definitely helps having those relationships. So you talked about, you said it's being difficult running on your own. What do you think is in you that was able to start your own firm, like be able to manage that by yourself? Because that is difficult to start your own firm, start getting your own clients, not having that support system, that system that allows things to flow, where you don't have to worry about certain documents or certain things that go, or certain scheduling. But when you're on your own, you have to worry about every little single detail that doesn't always necessarily deal with the law. You're running a business. Like, how are you able to manage that?
So a lot of it, I think, is because I have a little bit of OCD. I'm very, on point all the time. And I think that helped. I also think that, again, because of the support system that I have, I've had so many mentors that I still talk to, like the guy in Syracuse, the DA, somebody who you hold close to, James King. I have to give him big thanks. Andrew Levine, Randall Wilson. So having those people that I know I can always go to, I think, is what gave me the strength to be able to open shop and do it on my own. I think I've been able to make very good friendships with, some of my colleagues. And because of that, I know that no matter what happens in my practice, I always have somebody that I can rely on. And I think that's what gave me the strength to go ahead and move forward and do what I do, that I love to do on a daily basis. And I mean, there is a plus side to opening your own business. You don't have a 9 to 5. You can work your own schedule. You wanted to travel, you just go. You don't have to
go back
ask
to Miami
for permission.
a weekend.
Yeah, why not? I was there like 2 weeks ago. It was great.
No, I feel you. That's dope.
Yeah.
What would you say is the hardest case you've had so far?
So the hardest case is actually, I've learned, is when you believe that the client is not guilty. So when I had a case recently, it was a felony. We ended up having a jury trial. He was facing, it was a 10-count indictment. Mandatory minimums would have put him locked up for 20 years. And I actually believed he was innocent. So that was probably the hardest case, the one that I worked the most. I think I've spent hundreds of hours on this case preparing, and it was all worth it because we won. It was a not guilty verdict.
Congrats.
But that was definitely the hardest case. When you know the client is innocent, it's so much more pressure as a defense attorney.
Why is that?
Because, and I might get in trouble for this, the justice system is not always just. And you never know with juries. And it's more pressure because if you truly believe that your client is innocent and then they get a guilty verdict, there's just, at least me, I feel like I failed the client, right? So knowing that they're innocent, or really truly believing based on the facts and the evidence, etc., that they are innocent, is just so much more pressure. I think, for me at least, when it comes to, trying the cases.
Yeah, because that person's, we like to compare lawyers and doctors, but somebody's livelihood is in your hands.
Well, somebody's life is literally in your hands, because if you lose, their liberty is taken away from them and they're locked in a cell. I mean, it's probably the hardest thing about being a defense attorney, knowing that you have somebody's freedom in your hands. But it's also what I think lights my fire and my passion for what I do.
So the age-old question is, so you saying most of your clients are guilty, knowing that they did it, how can you defend a guilty person?
Everybody has a right to a defense, everyone. And what I've been seeing a lot, just as an example, for example, somebody gets arrested and there's a gun on their person. Yeah, they're guilty of having the gun. I mean, there's no way around it. The gun is on them. However, there are Fourth Amendment violations that are included, where then you move to suppress it, right? This is something that's happened a lot recently, where client is caught with a gun. I mean, there's no way to say innocent here. However, because of the legal system that we have, and the laws and the constitutional rights that individuals have, a lot of times what we're seeing today is that officers don't care about clients' Fourth Amendment rights, and they just do illegal searches, illegal pat downs, illegal stops, and as a result, the judge is going to do the right thing most of the time, and it's suppressing the evidence, and then you get a win, even though the client is technically guilty per se. There's still a not guilty verdict, and it gets harder when you represent clients who are charged with crimes of violence. For example, I've done 2 murders in the past 6 months. They're difficult cases, especially when the facts tend to suggest that the client might have, done it. But everyone has a right to defense, and I will never deprive that person of a fulsome defense, regardless of what I think. I also learned my lesson, and I never ask my client if they did it. I don't know.
You don't? Really?
Nope. I don't want to know.
So they just come to you with the case of, all right, cool, let's get to work. So how does that work in terms of, like, you need to know all the details in order to defend your client well? What if that allows him to just withhold information from you?
See, that's the great thing about having investigators. The investigator does the talking and then relays to me what happened.
Right.
I always say to my client, look, I don't want you to tell me whether you did it or not. I just need to know what happened up to the point of your arrest, from your own words, without telling me that one little thing that actually makes you say that you did it. Leave that out. I don't want to know.
I don't want to know. Wow.
But the thing is that you need to think about it too. Like, the client has a right to testify in their own defense.
Yes.
So as a defense attorney, if I know they did it because they tell me I did it, and then they testify to something that's, asserting innocence.
It's personally themselves,
Right. And I can't sponsor that. So that's another reason I don't ask. I don't want to know.
That makes sense. So your clients who was on trial for murder, you were like, don't tell me if you did it or not. I don't want to know if you actually did it.
Okay.
Wow. Got you. That's hilarious. Speaking of, you say you were in a trial. Speak to how difficult is being in trial, and just trial work in general.
It's tiring. You just, after each day of trial, you're just dead. It takes a lot of work, a lot of energy. You're not only focused on what the witness is testifying to, the arguments. You're also thinking about your own defense. You have your client who's freaking out next to you, trying to talk to you, and there's just, you need to multitask. I mean, you need to be on top of everything. So it definitely drains your energy, but it's also, I think, the most fun part of the job. If it wasn't for trial, I don't know if I would enjoy criminal defense as much.
No, I 100% agree. I just came out of 2 trials in the past 2 weeks, and like you said, being in it is so much fun. But everything else around it, like status hearings and different things like that, sitting around in court for hours and your case ends up getting rescheduled anyway. Like that part of it is not fun. But when you actually get to do trial, you're like, man, okay, I see why I'm in this space, because like being actually doing it is really, really fun.
I mean, I agree with you completely. Like writing motions, ugh.
No.
I don't want to write motions. I don't want to be behind my laptop reading transcripts. But it's all part of, the chain to then get to trial and do the fun thing. That's where you get to, act and be yourself and argue, which I love to do.
Oh, yeah. No, for real. I think that's what I'm learning as a new attorney, where it's like coming out of law school, a lot of law students who want to be trial attorneys, I think like, I don't be doing trials all day. They watch the movies. They want to be able to express themselves and do their whole spiel. But and then they get there, like the first couple months, your trials like plead out or something else changes. Day of trial. And that, Camille, that was the craziest thing to me. And it happens like the first couple of times I'm supposed to do a trial or be a part of a trial. You put in so much work. It's like for when we did mock trials, like weeks and weeks and weeks of putting in work, putting together, reformatting your opening and scratching things out, changing questions. For my trial, we know for sure the trial is going. But then,
that's the point.
Right. So, but when I started working, the day of, they're like, the supervising attorney that I was like shadowing that day, he was like, oh yeah, they just pled out. I'm like, so what do you mean they pled out? I'm like, yes, there's no trial. I'm like, what do you mean? I just put so much energy and there's no trial. I prepared so hard. That was the craziest realization. It's like you could put all this work into it and then it just nothing happened. Then like, and I don't want to say it goes to waste, but that work, there's nothing to put that energy into because it's over now.
You learn from it.
Right.
And then you're ready, even more ready for the next trial. So that's the one good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It is it's like, I was so ready. Let's go.
Exactly. And I do always say too, like, I feel like attorneys should have like the next day off. Depending on how many days of trials you have. So say you have the 3-day trials, you should have the next 3 days off.
I agree with you. Let's do a petition. Let's go.
Cause I'm like, I gotta do this trial and I gotta go back to work the next day and then do status and then no, that's great.
No, and it's not even that. It's you do trial during the day and then you come back home or to your office and you're getting ready for the next day of trial and your next hearing and et cetera. There's no break.
It doesn't stop. No. So how do you find time to break? How do you separate your work and your personal life? How do you do that? How do you balance that?
Still learning how to do it. To be honest, try to get Sundays off. Just have one day a week where I do not look at my computer. Doesn't end up happening. I always end up checking my emails or something is going on. But I've come to a system where I realize that I work better in the morning than in the afternoon. So I'll wake up at like 5 a.m, do 2.5 hours worth of work at home, then get ready for court until like 2-3 p.m. And then I just kind of dies off as the afternoon comes because I'm beat. But it's hard. I mean, especially when you have your own practice. It's difficult to put aside your clients. It's difficult to, if I have a client calling me at 9 p.m., it's hard for me to not answer the phone in case they need something. So it's still something I'm working on, but I try to get my Sundays off at least.
Yeah, choose one day. Is that something you realize from like law school, how your working style, like you work better in the mornings, you have the evenings off, or is that something you have to realize when you started practicing?
No, I was like that in law school too. I'm more of a morning bird.
No, that's good. That's good. So going back to law school, what law school did you attend?
The same one as yours, Akeem. I went to UDC School of Law, and I loved it. Firebirds all the way.
Hey, gang! How was your law school experience?
It was amazing. I mean, the students at UDC are just great. Made a lot of close friendships. I'm still close to several of my classmates. But more importantly, what I love the most about UADC is, one, the clinics, right? Because I did the criminal clinic.
Yeah.
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
And the professors. I mean,
Yeah.
the professors are attorneys that actually practice. I had Judge Lee, who is, an acting judge. It was an amazing experience. Really an amazing experience.
Yeah. What would you say in general about law school? What do you think is the best thing about law school and the worst thing about law school?
I mean, the worst thing is that it's law school. you got to study, you got to work, you got to do all that, and then just to take the bar. But the best thing about law school, I think, is you're starting your network to be an attorney, right?
Yeah.
So just with all of your classmates, most of them are going to end up being attorneys. So you make those contacts early. You meet judges. At least at UDC, we had that great opportunity to have judges be our actual professors.
Yeah.
It's really, I think, about not only getting the baseline for what you need to actually become a successful attorney, but also starting that network so that you can always rely on others and have those contacts for whenever you need it as you move on in your practice and become more and more successful in your career.
No, that's real. Were you an evening student?
I was not. I was full time during the day.
Got you. Yeah. But I do think that's important. But it's important to build your network during law school. But sometimes it can be difficult where it's like I'm trying to focus on my books, but then also have to go to these events to network and be around. Again, that goes back to balance and how you balance, because like you said, those connections go with you throughout law school and after law school. You never know where it's going to take you. Do you have any networking gems? A networking gem for the law students out there? Something that you use?
I think yes. My tip to you is when you go and network, don't start talking yourself. Listen first. So listen to what others are saying, catch on their interests, their point of views, figure out how you can connect with them based on what they are saying. And then that's when you swoop in. A lot of people, or something that I learned, I guess, when I was younger was, I used to always just be, hey, I'm here. Talk to me. Let's go. What do you want to talk about? Right?
I'm the star.
And I'm the star. Let's talk about me. Let me tell you everything I know, etc. But you can lose people because they might not be interested in that specific, topic that you want to talk about. So I think, as people are networking and they're just kind of talking, don't be like a stalker and linger, but listen to what people are saying and then introduce yourself by using what they're talking about as your way in.
No, that's good. That means you don't have to like be scrambling around for something to talk about. Like you say, you just introduce yourself and you start talking about yourself, and then there's no real topic. But like if you interject, I'm like, oh, you flew airplanes. Oh, you play tennis? That's crazy. I used to be the best tennis player in the world. Like,
well, I don't know about that, but thank you.
I gotta see some footage. I feel like I can see it, but I can't see. That's crazy. You really used to play tennis like that.
I'll text it to you.
Okay. Do you still play? Do you still play at all?
From time to time, but after 20 minutes, my wrist is like, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do one hand. You can't be like the first one-handed tennis player ever.
Well, I do one hand, but I'm right-handed, so then I would need to switch to the left.
Strong
that
hand.
just would not be pretty.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true. Give me a bar exam horror story. You finished law school. Did your networking? Are you finished? Do you have a bar exam horror story? Something that went wrong while you were studying or on an actual test?
Oh, yes. So I took my first bar exam in Florida because I think I'm going to end up, potentially going back there since my family is there. But that one was not, everything went well for that one. I wasn't worried. Everything was great. Now, since I practice in D.C., if you're in D.C., you need either Maryland and or Virginia as well because D.C. is so small. So I decided to take Maryland because I couldn't wait in unless I waited a certain amount of time, which I didn't want to do. So I ended up taking the Maryland bar. Now, during my exam, which was actually virtual, I had to do it because I think it was COVID time or whatever. I was there. I was, on camera. I was reading my questions. I was doing my thing. And then I see this huge spider just crawling towards me. And they tell you when you take the bar exam, like virtually, we're going to record you. And if there's any movement or sound, we're going to check it out.
Yeah.
So me, being, French, I see it. I grab my bottle. I start screaming and cursing in French, screaming and like pounding. That thing was huge. Just, by the way, for the record, it wasn't tiny. It was huge.
And you're not a bug person. You don't like the bugs. You don't like that.
No, not a fan. So I literally had to send an email after that session ended to the bar exam saying, dear bar examiner people, whatever, at around an hour and a half into this exam, you will see me jump up and start cursing. Apologies for that. There was a spider. I was so embarrassed. It was like the worst email I've ever had to send. That is my horror story for the bar exam. Oh my God.
That's too funny. Like, just to let you know, I was not cheating or nothing. Like, I was almost attacked by this insect. Oh my God.
The email I sent, I still have in my files. Because every time I go back to it, I just laugh. I am laughing at myself.
Oh, did they respond? What did they say back?
They did not respond. I don't know if that's worse or better, but they did not respond. But
we're not gonna get this so right. That's good. How were you able to get back focusing after that traumatic event? Like, how were you able to get back to the question?
Breathing exercises. Took a deep breath, saw it was dead, and then I relaxed.
I could get back. Oh my, that's too funny. That's too funny. Did you take it at a hotel or a library during COVID, or did you stay at home?
I took it at a friend's house because I was scared that my dog was going to start barking. So I went to a friend's house just in case.
So it's the friend's fault. So you let a spider come in my face.
We still talk about it to this day. Yeah.
That's too funny. So you said that you spoke Spanish and French. Where are you from originally?
Paris.
France. Okay, so how old were you? Like, when did you come to the U.S.? What was that process?
I was 8 years old, and it was because my parents decided to move to Miami, where they still are, for a better life, So I was 8. My sisters are younger than me, so they were 4 and 6 months. But we basically grew up in Miami. Yeah.
Nice. So you're the oldest of 3.
I am.
Nice.
My dad is a lucky man. 4 women in the house.
Right. He just gets taken care of all day, every day.
All the time.
Do you have any memories from France? Do you vividly remember anything from?
I do, actually. I have a lot of memories from France, and more importantly, I still go back because, I have my aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, etc. But I have one friend from, I think we've been friends since pre-K, or the equivalent of pre-K in France, and we still talk on a daily basis. Like, we literally, thanks to Facebook, thanks to Instagram, social media, etc.
Technology.
Technology. We've kept contact, and that's kind of cute in a way.
That's dope. So that's the reason why you go back. Oh, not part of the reason why you go back.
Part of the reason, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So how was it growing up in Miami? And did you recognize the transition? Like, 8 years old, do you remember, like, was it hard for you to leave France? Like, you remember that?
I remember crying like crazy the day that we had to say goodbye to everybody because the following day we were going to be on a plane. I remember hating my parents for a little bit. I actually remember plotting my escape prior to getting on the plane with my friends.
You had a
Of course, that did not happen.
It didn't work out.
It was hard. It's when you're young and all you know is French. I didn't know a word of English besides the dragon is red, because that's what they teach you in French. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
It was difficult. Yeah. But then, I got to Miami, started making new friends. I had to go to a French American school the first year because I didn't know a word of English. And then things kind of got better.
Got a little better. Nice.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you enjoyed Miami. It's Miami. How was your time in Miami?
The sun and the beach. You can't complain.
You're right. So why did you choose Syracuse? You left Miami for the cold, for real.
Yeah. It was, I applied to several schools. at that point, I still wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life because it was recently that, the tennis injury just got to me.
Yeah.
Out of all of the colleges that I got into, most of them were all in the cold, up north. I decided to go to Syracuse because I just really liked their programs. I thought that the city is beautiful, first of all,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just something in me said Syracuse. However, I graduated in 3 years instead of 4 because I was not doing a fourth winter. So I ended
I
up
feel like,
doing
wow, you're like the
school during
third
the summer.
person from Syracuse that I know who graduated in 3 years. Is that it's like a program that they do? Is that usually how they do it?
I mean, you have summer school to get ahead.
That's
I
true.
just
That's
didn't
true.
want to stay for a fourth winter
You were
because
over it.
I was over it. There was like 30 feet of snow and no snow days. Snow days do not exist.
You're going to class.
In DC there's like an inch of snow and they shut down? Yeah, no.
You're going into this lecture.
Yes, at 8 in the morning in the middle of a snowstorm. Yeah,
And you're
not
like, I'm
fun.
not doing it. Oh my
Nope.
God. Man.
Nope.
So in Syracuse, how did you even find out about UDC?
I researched, for some reason I wanted to go to DC. I don't know why. It's just something was telling me go to DC. I looked up all of the schools in DC, applied to, American, GW, etc. And I also applied to UDC because what I liked about them is, again, the clinic program.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it's cheaper.
Very cheap, yes.
Yeah. So then I got into 2 schools in DC, but I decided to go to UDC specifically because of the clinic, because I saw that some of the professors were judges, which interested me.
Yeah.
And because of the money.
No, for real. Because you already got debt from undergrad. Don't want to pile that on.
You don't want to add to that. Yeah.
No, that's real. So, you also do mock trial coaching. Why did you choose to be a mock trial coach? So why did you choose to be my mock trial coach?
Because you're awesome, Mickey. No,
Thank you, mate. But
no, I decided to do mock trial coaching because I really enjoyed it when I was in mock trial. My coaches were, well, you know them, Andrew Levine, Randall Wilson, James King. And I had such a great experience that I was like, well, let me give back and do it as well. And I'm really happy that I did because then I got to see you grow.
No, for real. Mock trial was something that I went to law school because of mock trial. Like, that's how I got introduced to the law. I did a program. They had a mock trial competition. I was like, this is fun. I was like, well, to do this more, I got to go to law school. So the fact that I had you guys as coaches was really, really good. How would you describe your coaching style? What's your coaching style?
I think, unfortunately, very strict. I should ask you that question. How is my coaching style? You were my student.
I think strict is on point, but I like that. Like, y'all scared me when we first came, but I come from a background. It's good. I play football and basketball, so like those are the type of coaches that I had. So, and I was always the youngest. I'm the youngest of my siblings at my church, at my schools growing up. I was always the youngest. So it was always, and I'm from Brooklyn, so it was always like, yo, if you trying to play basketball, if you trying to play football, you gotta earn it. You gotta play. If you want the ball, you gotta go get it. Like, there was no like babying or hand holding. Like, and I'm playing with grown people. They're like, you want the football? Come and get it. Like, ain't nobody gonna give you nothing. So I come from a line of like that hard, strict coaching. So when I saw you guys, I was terrified. I was like, yeah, this is what I need. This is exactly what I need. And sometimes people. Yeah.
I think, in the profession, you have to be hard. You have to, know what you got to do, and you got to do it. And I think it's a disservice to, students to be like, it's okay, you got this, babying them. Like, no, welcome to the real life. Let's work.
Right, exactly. You suck. That opening was terrible.
I never said suck. I never used that word.
You never used it. You didn't have to. You're like, do it over, do it again, say it again, start over. Like, and obviously in the moment it's frustrating because like we're trying to impress you, we're trying to get it down right, and it's like, no, that was bad. Oh, that was all right, that was a little better, but at the end of it, I felt like we was going to war. I felt like we was ready for war by the time it came. So no, it was helpful.
And that's real life, war.
No, for real. For real. What do you think is like the biggest difference between mock trial and real trial? I'm sure there's a lot of differences, but
There's a lot, but I think the most obvious one is, in mock trial, you have everything, what people are going to say. You have like a whole entire beautiful packet. In real life, you have no idea what the person is going to testify to.
Yeah.
You don't always have prior statements. It's not all there. So you need to be quicker on your feet in real life. Whereas in mock trial, it's just all teed up for you, and you know everything that could potentially happen.
Right. And if they try to bring in something new, you're like, that wasn't in the packet. You can't do that. And in real life, it's like, no, you just gotta roll with it.
You gotta roll with it.
You gotta
be on your toes.
What was your welcome to the legal field moment? Like the first moment you were like, I'm really a lawyer. Like this is crazy. Like something that happened with the judge or another colleague. What was your welcome to the field moment?
My first trial.
What was your first trial?
I was at OAG. I was second chairing Keith, and it was for a constructive possession of a firearm case.
Okay.
So UF. Keith second chaired me. Technically, I did the whole thing. He was just sitting there for like moral support.
Right.
But that was my wow. I'm an attorney. Like that was the moment for me.
Did you win?
Yeah, I did not win.
Ooh.
So I'm actually happy for the defense because I agree. It's like that constructive possession cases. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's hard to make that full bridge that gap. Were you actually in possession of that? Yeah.
One thing I love to do as a defense attorney, bridge that gap.
Yeah. That's so funny that you're happy. But at the moment, were you happy? You're like, in the future when I become a defense attorney, I'm going to be happy about this.
I've always wanted to be a defense attorney. So I was happy in the sense of I thought that was a just verdict.
Right.
But I was unhappy, of course, because I was like, oh, I wanted to win, my first case. I won all the other ones after that, so I'm not worried.
That's good. So speaking of losing, how do you handle failure in your profession? We kind of spoke about that when you come to defending your clients. But how do you usually handle failure? You lose a trial, you lose a hearing, or a probable cause thing. How do you handle those things?
You learn from it. I think that a very wise man once told me that it is the practice of law. Practice being the key word, right? So on a daily basis, you are trying your best, but it's still a practice.
Yeah.
I think that when you lose, when you fail, when you mess up, when you do something wrong, something doesn't go as planned, you just learn from it. You have to, debrief in your head what happened, what could I have done better, so that the next time you have that win. And if you don't have that win the next time, that's fine. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from your failures. And that's how I handle it. You just learn from it.
Yeah, no, that's good. And again, I feel like I'm still in that process of learning because again, like you always want to win, and not for the sake of obviously lives are at stake. But like once you get to the moment of trial, you already know that okay, I'm already bought in. I'm here. I'm doing this. You want to do well, and it's hard to handle those things where it's like, dang, you look back on it like, I should have said that. I should have argued that. I should have objected to that. It's a process.
That will always happen. Always. Every single trial I have, I'm like, in the shower after court, I'm like, oh, could I said this?
I know.
I messed it.
Even if you win, sometimes you're like, oh man, I really should have made that. Would have really drove it home, and it would have been
That always happens. Always.
Do you feel like you ever get to a point where you're like, I'm nice. I'm nicer. I'm really good. Like this. I'm nice at this. This is good for me.
I mean, I think yes and no in a masochist way, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know when you have trial and you have your heart like beating and you're nervous and you're shaking and you're just like. So first of all, if you ever lose that, I think that's the day that we just need to retire because
no, for real.
That's the passion in you, right? But when I get that feeling, I'm like, yes, this is for me, right? So it's in a masochist way because I'm like hurting myself and my body from like shaking so much of the nerves and the
right. But it hurts so good.
What I love, exactly.
Oh man, no, that's I know that exact feeling. But then the moment you start speaking, it like all comes down to like steady level, and then now you're in the rhythm.
It's like that first,
yeah,
sentence, and then you're like, all right, I'm in the groove. I got
this. Right. I compare it to like playing a sport. I always go back to sports. It was like they singing the national anthem, you doing your warms, you nervous as hell. But the moment you get to the rhythm, but as soon as they hit that ball, you're like, all right, I'm here. Like,
I got this.
Exactly. It's like muscle memory. Like, I actually know how to do this. There's nothing to be like deathly afraid of. Like, I'm in my rhythm now.
And if you don't know how to do it, you BS it until you do it.
Man, that's how I felt.
Make it.
That's how I felt doing like status hearings from not even trial. But we just go down to cases. I was some of the stuff the judge was asking me. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I need to email somebody. I don't know. Or I'll just make something up, and she'll be like, I don't know if that's it. It was like, I just started. Don't hate me. So who's Camille outside of the law? Was she not doing defense attorney? What's some side hobbies, side hustles, or anything that piques your interest that's not the law?
So, I mean, travel. I love to travel. Yeah. Wish I could do it more. Mm-hmm. If you don't see me hiking, because if it's cold, I don't go hiking because I'm not about that. Yeah. You will see me with my dog on the couch. That's my happiness right there.
What type of dog do you have?
I have an American Bulldog Pit. And his name is Blues. He has a blue eye. So Blues, it's my baby.
Shout out to Blues. When did you get him?
I got him like 9 years ago now. In Syracuse, actually.
Wow, so he's been through the ringer. He really traveled with you through all of it. Yeah. That's dope. So hiking, dog mom. Got you.
Proud dog mom.
Do you have? I always ask my guests, do you see any lessons or things you take from your side hustle, your side hobbies that you bring into the law? Anything that you can carry over from hiking, being a dog mom, that you bring over to help you be a lawyer?
I think more, dog mom, caring about your clients. Sometimes it's hard to care about certain clients, but you got to do it anyway because they are your clients. Yeah. And hiking, I think just, moving forward. Always, like, don't let anything put you down. Don't let anything stop you. You got to move. You got to go. And, breathe because you need a lot of times.
For real. Can't forget to breathe. You can't do that.
You see me in the hallway in the courthouse running around like a crazy person.
Yeah. That's what I don't envy about defense attorney. Y'all gotta be moving all the time. Yeah, I feel like y'all day ends earlier, but the hopping around from courtroom to courtroom, like, bro, I'll be exhausted. I like the fact we just sit there. Yeah. that's where
I definitely get my steps in every single day.
No, that's true. Do you have any hot takes about the legal profession? Something that you wish you could change about the profession? Something that people usually disagree on? You be like, I always think this should happen. Everybody like, nah, you crazy. Well, what's a hot take you have about the profession?
Well, that's a loaded question because I have a lot to say. However, for purposes of this podcast, I'm going to limit it. Yeah. I think one thing that people, I guess, don't really realize, and it's kind of my catch line that I have for Wagner PLC, is that what's important is not what you did, it's who you know. Okay. And I think a hot take would be you need to know as many people as possible, right? Yeah. I think that if you know what judge you have, then you know how to handle the case. If you know what kind of jury you're going to get, you know how you're going to present the case. Know your audience. Know how to use that connection or that networking that you have to then be able to get what you want. So for example, like I do with you, right? And I love you for it, but I text you like, hey, Akeem, who's in 310 today? And then you tell me who it is. It's like, okay, I know that for this, I need to do this. Because it's him, I'm going to do X. Because it's this judge, I'm going to do Y. And knowing the people is really what's important, not the actions of others.
No, that's real. And the reason why I don't mind doing it for you, because we have a relationship and we've had a history, and I feel like, I don't mind doing things for you, doing things for you because it's a genuine relationship. I don't feel like, you're just using me for this specific thing.
I would never.
I know, but I feel like that's a separation people could make, because in terms of people in law school, is like, don't just make connections for the sake of hey, I want to use you. It's so like,
Yeah.
no, you build actual relationships, whether it's through mock trial, whether through clinics or whatever. And then, if we end up being in the same space, hey, I'm going to lean on you for a favor. And then when I need a favor, I'm going to lean on you. Like, it's not so much like, I'm only going to connect with you just to, because you can feel that sometimes with certain people. It's like, all right, you just need
You're
me
using
for a favor.
me.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
using me. So it's good to make that distinction between
Yeah.
those things. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So nearing the end of the Conversate podcast, I always ask my guests for a closing argument. And you have no problem doing this because you're a beast and you've probably did hundreds of these. You've coached people how to do these. So this should be very, very easy. It's a closing argument. Leave the Conversate audience with a word of knowledge, a gem for them to go off with into the world of law. And the word of the day that you have to use, you cannot
What is it?
know the definition of it. It is flummoxed. Flummoxed.
Okay,
Yes,
can I do like in the spelling bee where I ask for how to spell it, or can you use it in a sentence?
I can't use it. I'm not going to use it in a sentence because I'll kind of give it away.
Okay.
And I'll spell it for you. I'll spell it for you. That's it. And I actually got this word from a defense attorney in court one day.
What?
Yes.
Flummoxed?
I was dying laughing. I couldn't out that out loud, but when she uses, I was like, did she just say flummoxed? I was like, I gotta write that one down. That's too good. That's too good. So it's spelled FLUMMOXED. 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 Flummoxed.
Like fluid, maybe?
I don't know.
Let me use that. Okay, all right. So, to all the viewers, if you think that you want to open your own practice or become an attorney, you must be flummoxed with what you choose to do, the circle that you want to build. You need to be able to take hits every way. You need to learn from your mistakes. Don't let yourself be brought down. It's very, very difficult to be on your own, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You can only get better. Going down does not mean there's no way back up. There's always a way back up. I think that you shouldn't be shy to take risks, and just show yourself. Be proud of who you are, and move forward. Even if others try to bring you down, even if people are jealous of you, don't let that stop you. You got this. And I used it as like fluid, maybe.
Good job. Camille Wagner, ladies and gentlemen. Flummoxed actually means bewildered or perplexed.
Oh, yeah, no.
I like the way you use the word. It's all right. It's all right. If you said it to a jury, they wouldn't know the difference. They would believe you.
They wouldn't.
They would have believed you. But thank you so much. I actually did have one more question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see the Wagner firm, PLLC?
I see the Wagner firm with more clients, more cases in federal court, which I'm starting to tip my toes there, across the street from us. So I see myself growing the same way where I am today, just with more knowledge, more, passion for what I do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was so great talking to you. And thank you for everything you've done for me. For real.
Thank you, Akeem.
Yeah.